Okay, I think we've got everything going. Things say they're being recorded, things say they're on YouTube, things say they're on Twitch. Now for a cup of coffee. Are you trying to watch yourself live on YouTube and Twitch and participate in a conversation? Sure, yes, please. And let's see if chat is working. Yep. And hopefully they went through the chat because I'm watching Restream chat on one computer, the another computer is streaming. I'm going to grab my chair so I can sit down. Okay, guys, are you ready? Okay, I'm going to give our co-host a couple of moments. You're good. We've got Go from Subtractive Manufacturing. How about you, Paige? Oh, good. Okay, we will. I guess we'll try and do something semi-professional seeming as I move things around on my screen. We'll go something like this: 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everyone, to Make It Zone's first podcast. Tonight, we'll be looking at various interesting things we've found around the internet, and our goal is to do that on a regular basis, and also to focus on things in the local Comox Valley and neighboring regions. But first, let's go around and introduce your host. First, Paige. That's awesome. Next, we've got Griffin. Which I guess brings it around to me. I'm Julian. I run the Make It Zone, which is a makerspace and education center with dreams of one day being an incubator for people with ideas who want to try and commercialize them for fun and for profit, in other words. So tonight, I guess our big topic has to be the global pandemic known as COVID-19. So we're not going to cover a lot, but try and add a few bits and pieces that we're finding useful. So to start with, we're going to go to Paige, who has some really good ideas for a safety plan. And how far up the arms should someone wash their hands? Like, is it to the wrist, to the elbow? So basically, jump in the shower, just every time. Unless I guess you actually think you might be at risk of contamination. I was just listening to a podcast called Sawbones, which is one of my favorites, which features a doctor who talks about usually medical history, but she was talking about how right now she's come up with a plan so that when she visits patients in hospital who may or may not have COVID, probably don't for the patients she specializes with, as I understand it. She comes home, has an area in her garage. She takes off her clothes, puts them in a bag, bags up everything, tells her kids that mum is not ready for snuggles and huggles yet, runs through, has a shower, and takes care of washing the clothes from the day, different set of clothes, because she's dealing with unknown members of the public. Yeah, and I guess it's easier to wash your hands than to carry around a backpack full of cleaning supplies and a high pressure washer and just wash every door that you come to. I mean, it looked like Ghostbusters, but I think you might not be popular with the community rather quickly. Although, I've got some ideas. It might be a bored kids project for the next few weeks. Let's make a fake Ghostbusters. Um, Doorbusters. No, my kids would actually bust the door. No, maybe, yeah, no, kids, if you're listening, no, we're not blowing down a door with water pressure. Okay, so moving on for a moment, Griffin, do you want to talk about the discussion we had today about DIY face shields? No, absolutely. And it was really great to have around 10 people from around the valley and as far away as Parksville get on a video conference that was organized really quite late and just proactively go for a bunch of different designs from around the world. So we kind of decided to make a focus, though, on coming up with a couple of maybe standard designs for our local area so that parts might be interchangeable and try and focus on materials that we might be able to supply locally in what we have in the valley and nearby industrial supply agents rather than relying on rarer materials that will come in, would have to order in and may not come in at a reasonable time. I mean, even now on Amazon, if you look for mylar sheets and a few other things like that, which might make the clear face shield part, the order times have gone up to the end of April rather than overnight. So supplies of some of those things are going to perhaps be the hardest things to get hold of. Yep, that's that's an idea that seems to be quite common on the internet, taking a Coke, like a pop bottle, and slicing it open because it's a similar kind of plastic. It's made out of PET, if I understand correctly, which is a pretty sturdy plastic. I mean, I think pop bottles are pressurized or rated to be pressurized to over 100 psi. I think it's quite a bit more than that. So they're quite a tough plastic. So in principle, they should be able to be washed, although most of the designs that we looked at, most of the recommendations seem to be that they're one-time use. So we have to take that into consideration. Um, yep. Yep, absolutely. So one of the things is looking at what materials and how they can potentially be cleaned versus disinfected versus sterilized, which, as an aside, Paige, if I go over the definition of them, can you correct me if I've got them wrong? So as I understanding it, cleaning technically means the removal of material and dirt that you don't want. That doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't nasty things there. It's just that maybe we've knocked down their homes and they are not living in their apartment buildings on the blob of dirt. Can you tell I kind of anthropomorphize everything? Versus disinfecting is where an agent is applied that potentially kills or deactivates or makes viruses unworkable, because a virus is a strange form of pseudo life, perhaps. Is it alive, is it not? It requires a host cell to live, versus a bacteria, which is actually its own little living entity. And disinfection is about removing or affecting a percentage of the populations. Does that sound about right? And whereas sterilization, yep. Right. Oh, dose. And talking of doses, so you move on to sterilization, which is where you give all known life enough dose of something such that nothing should be alive on that surface, whether it be an autoclave, which is pressure and heat, or gamma radiation to make, the Hulk, but eventually kill the Hulk monster creatures living on the surfaces, through to whatever chemicals might also be used to totally make sure that that object has no life on it whatsoever. Okay. Oh, I didn't even think of that, because those can be super tough. So sterilization also covers spores. Right. Wow. So you said something, a word, a phrase, which I've heard bandied around, and I'm not sure I understand it. Can you explain what is a capsid virus versus a regular virus? S- So, if I remember rightly, lipid means fat, right? And so that's why with this virus, it's particularly attacked by both soaps and also higher concentrations of alcohol if it has enough contact time for the alcohol to dissolve the fat. Right, compared to a lot of other viruses which either have a much tougher capsid or can survive without a capsid and last on surfaces potentially longer. Okay, so that's why this virus is a little bit easier for us to handle with washing, etc., because of that capsid layer being destroyed, meaning the DNA inside can be degraded and just broken down and become just nothing. Cool. Okay, so apparently I just got a note saying that there's no audio coming in from Paige. So I'm hearing you fine. So I know that it's going to get recorded, but maybe Paige, you're a little quiet. We'll try and figure that out. I can hear you fine, but I do notice that you are a little quiet. But we'll see what we can do in post, as they say. Um, where was I? Okay, so trying to get back to and saying no audio. For the audio listeners, I just dragged in a picture of the Wuhan hook that Paige created. I'll try and add it into the podcast notes. Oh, but inserting patently obvious point right here. If using at gas station, do not light and sterilize it at the point. Drive away first. So, cool. So that's really cool. So to be clear, though, you're not actually trying to heat up the hook, the Allen key. You're just trying to surface heat just the surface of it to disrupt anything that was on it. Very cool. 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 Yeah. So again, if you're in the community and you have a spare set of Allen keys, you did a lot of building IKEA furniture in the past, and you've held on to all of those things and got a drawer full of them, we have a good use for that. See, it wasn't bad holding onto those keys. You were just holding onto them for the right moment. That's good to know, though. So preferably not the zinc plated ones, preferably the dull black ones. Gotcha. Okay. And just bouncing back for just a second with regard to the DOA face shields, if anyone's interested in getting involved with that, just get in touch with us. We'll put links in, but we're trying to do this all out in the open, both on the forum, a Google Doc, lots of places to try and share the information. And if you have a printer or parts and are interested in helping in and around the Valley, get in touch. I think right now we are just evaluating the couple of designs that we chose to look at, which were the one by Joseph Prusa and the other one by called the Budman design. We liked the Budman design just because it covered the top, the gap between the shield and the head. A lot of the other ones are open in that area to make them faster prints. But if you were to bend down and someone would sneeze, that just guides that sneeze right into your face. So having a shield between you, the top of your head, and the actual plastic clear part seems to be a good idea. So we're looking at two of them though and seeing which one works out well. Yeah, it's potentially CNCable, or even cut. You could potentially cut it out with a jigsaw or a scroll saw if you're really good. Potentially with scissors. No, definitely not. Removing. Excellent suggestions. Thanks. And then, Griffin, you had some information about those of us who have to deal with CPAP or BiPAP machines and whether they can be used to help people as well. That's really cool. But just to be clear, that's not taking your standard CPAP or BiPAP machine as it is. That's with some fairly heavy modifications to make sure that droplets don't escape from the patient. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But more importantly, wash your hands, stay away from people, stay out of the public, and let's stop the spread of this disease so that we don't need any of these last measure resorts, because no one wants to really be on a CPAP or BiPAP for life-saving things, let alone a ventilator. Yeah. And talking about things that people connect to, things at some people's homes at least, I think we all probably have at our fingertips a computer or two. And it turns out that you can use your computer to help the fight against SARS COVID 19. Because there is a computer program called Folding at Home, which connects everyone's computers together and turns them into one of the world's largest supercomputers. The way it works is that researchers upload data that they need analyzed into small blocks, which then get downloaded by different people's computers, and they have special ways of checking by redoing the work to make sure everyone's computer is working reliably and no one is playing with the data. So that all gets re-uploaded to their server so that the researchers can actually analyze what's going on. And Paige mentioned earlier that the COVID-19 virus actually attacks a receptor in the human respiratory system, which apparently is called ACE2. And there is ongoing research right now being simulated by computers around the world to analyze different materials to see how they can block the SARS-CoV-19 virus and stop it from getting into respiratory tissue through the ACE2 receptor. It's happening now. It's live. If you have a computer that sometimes you're not using, or even your main computer, which sometimes has a screensaver, think about downloading the Folding at Home application, and your computer will be helping win the fight against this and other viruses. And small plug, if you're interested and willing, find the Make It Zone team and let's see how many points we can rack up over the next few months as we crunch the numbers and crunch this virus. Thank you. And for those who think that Folding at Home is too easy to set up, which it really is, it's literally a download, but if you want a little bit more of a challenge and citizen science has got you interested, there is another project called BOINC or BOINC. That's the Berkeley Online something. I should look this up beforehand. But the difference between that and Folding at Home is that they have a more general system which can be used from everything from proving mathematical theorems to the search for extraterrestrials to protein folding and issues with diseases such as Alzheimer's through to material science studies. That's a much more general platform for distributed supercomputing, but it's a little bit more difficult to set up. If you want any help with either of those two, feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you get set up. Yes. Yeah, I love the Boink screensaver. Yeah. And if you do decide to use the Boink project, there is one of their sub-projects is called Rosetta at Home, and that is the protein folding project. And I noticed that some of the work units going through my computer over the last couple of days have been labeled to do with SARS-CoV-19. So it's a little bit harder to find out which projects are involved with the specific diseases with Boink, but Rosetta right now seems to be processing quite a lot of data around SARS-CoV-19. No, it's one of the projects. So Boink is like this platform from which you can choose. I think there's approximately 30 different sub-projects right now. Actually, not even sub-projects. They're different teams of researchers from around the world who just happen to use this software to get their problems split up in such a way that it can be run on people's computers at home. Yeah, lots and lots of cool stuff. And now I think we have talked for close to an hour, so it's time for us to bring this to a close, although I could keep talking to Paige and Griffin all night. But to leave, but to leave on a totally different topic, Paige, can you tell us about Canada's national lichen? That is super cool. And take a break sometimes from social media. There's a lot of not fully accurate information or information which is missing the context which makes it relevant. So I know for my mental sanity, I have gone on a bit of a social media diet and I'm checking once or twice a day or trying to and staying out of it because although it's fast moving, it's not that fast moving. Like for a community, it's not changing within an hour. So staying healthy to keep your immune system working well, you've got to manage your stress. Because I think there are lots of studies that say high stress equals low functioning immune system. So another way we can look after ourselves is by managing our stress and taking a break from all the semi-information and good time to learn a new hobby or get busy doing that spring clean you've been talking about for the last few years. Maybe you'll find some Allen keys. That's awesome. That's a great note to leave on. We are definitely connected in many ways, and this is a good time for us to put aside our differences and work together to keep us all safe. And on that note, for now, we're going to say goodbye for tonight. Goodbye. And we will be back soon. Cut. Okay, we're done. So this is now the after show. Apparently, the audio has not been working properly, so I'm got my fingers crossed that Zoom has actually been recording all of this, and I can rescue the audio out of Zoom. If not, we do it all again. It does on mine too, but I've never done a Zoom recording in the cloud, so I don't know what's going to happen. I am assuming it works, but if all else fails, I should be able to extract the audio out of it. And it's just Liam told me that it's only getting my audio, and even though I've got moving audio bars when you guys talk, I think something's gone a bit weird and it's too low for it to pick up on YouTube. So I'll figure it out. Oh, no problem. Yeah, no, it went really well. Thanks, guys. You did great. Yeah, so well, I'd listen to this if it's just you two. I don't think I want to hear myself. I don't think I want to hear myself. Ouch! Ouch! Oh. uh, Okay, well, it was lots of fun. I'm going to try and take this thing offline. If you guys want to hang out for a second, I'm going to go and see if I can turn off the YouTube stream.